Hey everybody, this is Yokonawa Kid here, and this is another fan fiction idea that I want to present to you guys. And today, I'm gonna talk to you about my own version of the Fairy Odd Parents, the Fairy Odd Family. So, the Fairy Odd Family is an idea I had a couple that I thought of a couple of months ago, and I'm working on right now. And basically, we all know that the Fairly Odd Parents went downhill around seasons 5 and 6, especially seasons 8, 9, and 10, with the inclusions of both Sparky the dog and Chloe Carmichael. But here's the thing: I have an idea to salvage the actual idea and rather interesting premise of Fairy Odd Parents. So hear me out. So basically, it starts off with like regular, where Timmy Turner, miserable kid, absentee parents, or rather neglectful parents, and basically an abusive, evil babysitter, has now fairy godparents Cosmo and Wanda to grant his every wish. But here's the thing: this is set in the modern day, not 1990 something. So basically, in the modern day, he's one of the only few kids on Earth who basically still has his fairy godparents because social media and all that is still a thing, and a lot of people, especially a lot of kids, can't keep it secret anymore. So a lot of kids nowadays start losing their godparents left and right. And Timmy, being the rather smart, like he's kind of smarter, he's a lot more smarter and a lot more responsible in this version. So, yeah, he basically is able to keep his secret longer than most. So, very much like the Magic Muffin situation where he gets a reward for keeping his secret the longest. It's like, hey, you're the only god kid on Earth that is able to keep this secret for so long, which is commendable. So we'll basically allow you to have even more god siblings. Turns out, with all these new social media outlets basically exposing fairies left and right, with all these kids literally, you know, like showing us like, hey guys, check out my Tinder, check out my Facebook, and check out my Instagram. I got my fairy godparents. Like, wait, what? So literally, due to a fairy shortage, I know it's like due to fairy shortage because a lot of kids can't keep a secret anymore because TikTok and all that stuff still thing. Uh, um, Timmy has to literally get some god siblings in order to you know, share the wonder that is the fairy godparents. But he has to find kids that are equally or as more miserable as he is. That's the big catch is. Luckily for him, his friends are just as equally as miserable, if not more miserable. Going down the list, there's gonna be like 6 god siblings in all, and that includes all his friends. It includes some that you might be surprised of at how I turned them out. Um, First is Chester. Chester's kind of a straightforward one. Lives in a trailer park. He's basically white trash. I know this is kind of wrong for me to say that, but yeah, he's basically white trash. Um, he lives in a trailer park, dirt poor. His father is a Major League Baseball pariah that kind of is still hated, being the worst baseball player in baseball history. Where basically, along with his crooked teeth that has to be constantly be intact with braces. Yeah, that's his problem. That's his way of getting godparents. Then we have AJ. AJ is a little bit more nuanced. He is a very smart kid for his age. He's very much a super genius. But fortunately for him, that also means that his parents have way, way, way higher expectations of him. Basically, he's growing up too fast for his own age. Like, he's basically becoming an adult before actually becoming a kid. That's the thing. He he doesn't really have time for like friends. Like the friends he does have, Chester, Timmy, basically, he sometimes hang around with them and stuff when he has the time, but outside studying and events and like programs he has to go to, it's basically hard for him to make friends his own age in this version, and very much like he's have a hard time relating to other kids. Like he has so many things up in his head. Like he has so many like factoids and like historical facts and like scientific facts that will just go way over like most kids' heads. So a lot of kids are a little intimidated by his intelligence, hence why he gets picked on, and that's why Chester and AJ are not Chester and AJ, but Chester and Timmy are his friends. Yeah, he's the smart kid that no one's like literally no one understands, and yeah, he's basically alone in terms of making friends. So yeah, also his social skills are kind of like very subpar because of it. So that's why AJ's on this. So then we have Tootie. Tootie is basically self-explanatory. She has Vicky for older sister, and her parents are scared shitless of her. And yeah, that's kind of all you really need to know about Tootie. Fun fact: I do give these kids names. Like I know they actually have names, but like full names. So for AJ and Tootie specifically, AJ is short for Anthony Johansson. Yeah, I'm just gonna Johansson being a reference to Hey Arnold being Gerald Johansson, Arnold's black friend, so why not? And also Tootie I learned is a diminutive of the name Dorothy. So and I'm trying to I was trying to actually come up with a middle name like last name for her, and the closest thing I was trying to actually find is on the fandom wiki, and apparently a lot of the fans kind of have Vicky's whole family as the Millers. So, Dorothy Tootie Miller. Boom. Alright, morning sciences. Hey, when that happens. So, basically, that is basically Chester, AJ, and Tootie. Now for the other two. Then we have Trixie. Trixie is very much like that one episode where um, Timmy wishes to be a girl, and Timmy finds out that Trixie's secretly a basically otaku and a nerd. So basically, Trixie's thing is that she has, as part of a one of the richest families in Dimsdale, she has a reputation to uphold, unfortunately, and that means sacrificing and trying to be something that she's not. She's interested in a lot of things that a lot of her friends and a lot of her family deemed like unfitting for her and unsuitable for her, given her status and background, more or less, um, as being this wealthy socialite, and not to mention the fact that she just wants to be herself. She's into comic books, she's into superheroes, she's into anime, D&D, all that stuff. So basically she has basically a moral conundrum of whether or not to be herself, or rather just be something she's not to appease her friends. And of course, basically when she met Timmy as Tamantha, she kind of realizes like, hey, wait a minute, I don't really have to do this. I could just be myself, and if my friends and family don't like that, who cares? It's my life. I actually live it how I live it. So basically, and this is a version of Trixie that basically just fully accepted her like her actual like interests and stuff. So basically, she has a bit of a falling out with her best friend, quote quote, Veronica, who she's like, hey, this is who I really am, and she's just like full on nerd at this point. Um, Hope we can still be friends because I really value our friendship. And given that Veronica Starr, yeah, that's her full name, is a very petty little girl, and she would do anything to be the most popular girl in the school because popularity in school is very much like a you know very common thing in these sort of situations. Um, So Veronica just flat dumped Trixie as a friend, and she became the quote unquote popular girl of Dimsdale Elementary. But fortunately for Trixie, she's still rich and she's still way prettier than her. So a lot of the like I just imagine like all of Dimsdale Elementary like okay, one side still likes Trixie as the popular girl and one likes Veronica better, and basically it's like a dual situation where it's like okay, so they're both the popular girls, oddly enough, and there's like you know I mean, it's just like some high school bullshit sort of situation, but in like elementary school. So it's just a funny way to showing that. So Trixie Tang is basically part of this group of god siblings. And then finally we have Chloe Carmichael. Chloe Carmichael's gonna be the most changed out of the group because okay, she's basically Mary Sue in the original series, but I'm gonna have it where the basic gist of it is still the same but different. Where you know how in the original series in season 10 how she's basically like oh I really want to actually help people but I always mess up and basically make things worse, instead of that being a running gag that doesn't really do anything, that they don't really do anything with it, I'll have it where she's well how about just make her autistic. Yeah, have her autistic and actually give a reason why she is that the way she is. Like yeah, it could make a perfect sense. So basically, she's an autistic girl who basically wants to do the most good and wants to actually help people, but things want to like she socially speaking, she has no idea how to do that and how to properly do things. So she basically messes things up and she gets blamed for it, and yeah, that's the way she is most of the time. And instead of like her parents being some Indiana Jones ripoffs, how about I'll have literally I'll have her parents being like college professors who are way too busy for her with like thesis statements and classes and like presentations and events that basically they're workaholics. So literally they had literally no time for her to actually raise her. So she's usually left by herself and basically like I barely get to see my parents. They're working so hard in the university. I basically yeah, they're kind of those type of parents. So and that's why she gets the fairy godparents. Not because she's basically perfect. It's like oh I only do things because I try to help, but mess things up. It's like nah, this is more of a legit reason. She's autistic, who's constantly alone because due to her workaholic parents and due to like her inability to pick on social cues and stuff. She tries to help people, but inevitably make things worse and makes her more miserable. That's why she gets fairy godparents. So yeah, and then the six god siblings go on misadventures, and basically, they become more like a family. Like the dynamic is that like they become more like an actual circuit family than the actual families, and basically, they have more of a close relationship with each other than they do in the show. Also, it's like, oh, what about like Timmy's crush on Trixie? How'd that work out? Easy. Uh, Timmy's crush will fizzle out, mainly because of the fact that literally, as god siblings now, Timmy started off having a crush on Trixie, but after sharing his godparents with him and with her and basically going on these adventures, she basically Timmy kind of views Trixie at this point more as a sibling rather than a crush. Same goes with Trixie, vice versa. So they're more having a brother sister relationship and more like best friends than anything else. So that's more or less what I'm trying to do here. Have them being one big happy surrogate found family. So basically, that's sort of the whole thing on the Fairy Odd Family. You can go check it out on my DVRs and or Fur Affinity accounts. Uh, so yeah, that's kind of my gist of the Fairy Odd Family. So yeah, tell me what you think about this story in the comments below. And this has been the Kid, and this I'm just signing out.